except he added this.
We are keeping the promise I made when I began my campaign for the presidency. By the end of this month, we will have removed 100,000 troops from Iraq, and our combat mission will be over in Iraq.
So the president keeping an important political promise there. You heard Arwin Damon talking about the security concerns on the ground in Iraq. But first, to the Democrats in the room, Peter Hart, this was a signature promise of the Obama campaign. And my take on why the email from him and mentioning it today is this is a president who knows, number one, his liberal base is still mad about Afghanistan, but they want this promise kept. I guess my bigger question is, it was the independent voters who turned on President Bush over this issue. Does this help this president at all at a time he's struggling in the middle?
Absolutely helps him with the independents because it's a promise kept. And the other thing you have to say as you listen to the report is what tremendous respect we have to have for the military. I mean, and what happened and what they've been able to do. But politically, I'd have to tell you it's another promise kept. It's important because the president's been struggling.
Are there risks, Faiz, in that you get down to 50 amid all this political uncertainty in Iraq? If, God forbid, there are problems there, might people say this president was too worried about keeping a political promise?
Well, it's placing great trust in Iraq to handle its future, but that's the way it should be. I think that, honestly, this moment of leaving Iraq, while it's a great accomplishment for the president fulfilling his pledge, I think it sort of leaves us with a sick-to-our-stomach feeling, I hope, because this is a type of venture that hopefully we are not going to engage in again, and hopefully we reflect on that back in 2003, leading up to this disaster, we had pledges that it was going to be easy, it was going to be a cakewalk, we were just going to waltz in there, or reconstruction would pay for itself. None of that panned out, and hopefully that the lesson that the American people are taking from this is that we don't want to engage in these protracted conflicts that really are not worth the cost that was imposed on us, and I think the lessons for Afghanistan here are clear, and hopefully President Obama, having fulfilled the pledge in Iraq, will also fulfill a pledge of withdrawing at some point from Afghanistan.
I'll come back to that point one sec. Eric Erickson, you're a frequent critic of President Obama. Is this something for which he deserves credit, or does it give you pause?
I think this is a very good day. You know, back during 2003, if you'll remember, a lot of the opposition also focused on this concept of American empire. We were going to take over. It was a big criticism from overseas. Here the world can see the United States troops went into Iraq, removed a dictator, helped settle the country, and now they're leaving. The betray us strategy of the surge worked. I think there's problems here for Barack Obama, though, in that Guantanamo Bay remains open and there's Afghanistan. Not with independence, I don't think, but with his base. But today is a very good day.
At a time, Peter Hart, when CNN just did a poll on this last week, and I'm sure you have similar data in your polling, opposition to the Iraq war and the Afghanistan war at the same time is all-time highs. What do the American people think now, 7 years later from the beginning of it, as we reach this important milestone, and they watch these troops? We get close to the 50,000, and in a year we're supposed to be down to zero. What do they think about Iraq?
Well, yeah, I would assume about Iraq, and we've only seen some, is that there is a sense that we're doing the right thing, but I think your point is the right point, which is it also teaches us a lesson, and an important lesson to pick up on.
General Petraeus was on a Sunday show this past Sunday and was asked whether the surge was a success, whether he would call it a success. He wouldn't say that. He would not say that it was a success. And then Ryan Crocker, who's our ambassador there, offered a statement to the New York Times in which he said, "Was this bloody mess worth it?" And he said, "I'm not sure." I mean, that's honesty, and thankfully I think that's the reflection that we need. I don't like conservatives who are trying to pretend that this was exactly what they wanted. This is a success, mission accomplished. See, this is what we told you guys it would be like, and we've left in Iraq. That's amazing and awesome.
Both of these wars started in the Bush administration, but is it fair, Peter, to say that tonight President Obama takes a big step toward ending George Bush's war in Iraq, but that in Afghanistan, because he ordered the significant escalation, because he has changed the rules of engagement and the strategic plan in Iraq, that Afghanistan, that one is his?
There's no doubt about it. 2011 is going to be the year on Afghanistan, and either he will make significant progress, as the United States will, or it will be the major problem he'll face in 2012.
And Eric Erickson, one of the, it's not a criticism, but one of the commentaries about this is because General Petraeus is in the middle of this media offensive to try to sell the American people on his mission and for patience, and in part to perhaps give him more time if he can't begin that drawdown next spring. Many have said, why doesn't the president engage the American people more and more on this issue? I'm going to ask you to, I know you're a critic, to set that part aside. As a citizen, do you need to hear more from the president on this issue, or is General Petraeus the better spokesman?
You know, the president is the commander-in-chief. I think the American public would like to hear from him, particularly because on Afghanistan, we've been so focused on the economy as a nation and all these other issues. There's this sense that something's not right in Afghanistan. No one wants to point a partisan finger. No one wants to blame the military. There really is no one anyone wants to blame for the situation. There's just the sense something's going on over there. Having some more discussions about it from the political leaders, not just from the president either, from Robert Gates, who I think the biggest headline from him this week is that he's leaving after the election cycle. We want to hear more from Afghanistan, not just from the generals, but from the leaders. I will make one prediction for you, though. With a lot of the troops coming home from Iraq, you can be sure that the Democrats and Republicans will, some of those leaving the military altogether now, they'll recruit them heavily for 2012.
We have several more running this cycle. Any last word on the milestone here, what it means and what the risks are getting to this important point in Iraq?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it is an amazing accomplishment that we've gotten the troops out. Yes, there are going to be continued problems there, but it's a step in the right direction.
Do you really believe we will be at zero in a year, or are they going to have to say, look, they're going to be 25,000 or 30,000 there for many, many years to come?
I think that this is an instance where President Obama is standing up to the military. I think some of whom would have liked to have stayed with a larger force. I think the same is true in Afghanistan, but he's deliberated these issues for a great extent of time. I think to Eric's point, he talked about Afghanistan for a very long period of time. He's going to continue to have deliberations on it. But this is, I think, President asserting his role as a commander-in-chief and saying, while the military may have certain views, I've got to make decisions about our priorities as a country, and one of those priorities is we've got to leave Iraq.
Faiz Shakir, Peter Hart, Eric Erickson, appreciate your time, your patience in juggling with us tonight. When we come back.